This is why I constantly am going to push to you guys. Listen, at the end of the day, I know it's scary. I know it's a struggle. I know we got a lot of stuff going on in our lives. But if you have that passion, if you have that dream, you got to go for it. You got to jump in. Start writing, start drawing, designing something, doesn't matter. Get started today. And this is one of the best months to do that. So speaking of getting started, a few things that we're going to incorporate going forward are the live streams from locations as well as interviews from the small business owners locations. You guys love that. You commented, you shared your reviews, and I want to be sure to give you more what you wanted. The funny thing about that is that originally that's what I wanted to do for every single episode of the podcast, but it was a little bit of a struggle to do it in the very beginning. We're finding the right team, the right production, and how to get things done on location. Not even live, just recording on location at small businesses. And it took a while to get it right. And we finally got it nailed down. But hey, if I hadn't started, I waited for perfect, well, we probably would still just be on episode, like I said, 2 or 3 right now. You guys gave me feedback and you said you liked it, so that's what we're going to do more this season and going forward, as well as those live streams. Another thing I used to do in live streams, well, I would answer Q&As, but I would get those questions originally from my Twitter, which if you're looking for me there, you won't find much of anything. Used to get a lot of questions from Core Spaces, and I still get questions over there, but now we made it a lot easier for you. So there's a forum where you can submit your questions, and you could potentially have your question answered a live stream or in a future episode of the podcast. So if we're broadcasting from an event or we're going live, you will have your questions answered. Make sure to use that form in the description of this episode, and that way you could potentially have one of your questions answered on a future episode or live stream of the podcast. Additionally, I'm going to be answering questions in the podcast that we get submitted to our newsletter. So if you subscribe to the Ambitious newsletter, link is also in the description of this episode, you could potentially have your questions answered in both the podcast and the newsletter. And in the newsletter, I go a little bit more in depth just because for the sake of time in the podcast, get a little bit more to the answer, and we try not to go too far in the deep dive. But sometimes some of these questions, and we had some really good questions in Core over this past weekend, we answered that question a lot more in depth in the newsletter, and that's what we do every week in the newsletter. So some of your questions may touch on it a little bit in the podcast, but go far more in depth in the newsletter. So make sure you subscribe to the Ambitious newsletter as well.